to the point where they had to tell me, okay, that's enough, that's good. And the guy in the back was like, that's what I'm talking about. And so I was like, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So after that, I was like, if you make it, we're going to give you a call next Thursday. You did very good. We're very surprised. You know, they tried to give us some encouraging words. So, you know, maybe I was too much fun. So then my sister told my dad that I was auditioning. I didn't tell him I was auditioning because my dad is so hyper and just, he's all about music. You guys would not, if you ever met him, you know, he's polite and he's a gentleman. But he knows his music, he knows his fans, he's like a bass player too. So he was just like, oh, so how'd it go, you know? It's Beyonce. You don't expect people to just make it, you know? He was just like, how'd it go? I was like, oh, it went good. It went cool. He's like, what did you play? I was like, my family song. He's like, that's my girl. That's my girl. I was like, yeah, it was all right. You know, I always talk stuff down, and I always kind of, you know, I'm really kind of calm about things. I'm not really worried about nothing. But he was like, well, as long as you did good, girl, that's all that matters. I was like, I did good. And so a couple of days passed, and, you know, it kind of died down. He didn't ask me about it anymore. Thursday came, the day I was supposed to find out. I was at a gig with my sister and her husband, and the whole day had passed. And you know that feeling when everybody knows that you tried out for something? But ain't nobody called you. I'm like, I know they know that I'm feeling kind of upset about this. But anyway, yeah, everybody knew, the whole band knew. One of the ladies that was in the band with me actually auditioned too. So she was just like, don't worry about it, girl. Our turn gonna come. You know, we gonna get in there one day. I mean, we're too good. She was just giving me the, don't worry about it speech. You're good. Anyway, I wasn't trying to hear that. So I finished the rest of the gig, and my sister was just like, let's just have a good time after this. You know, I didn't show no sweat. I wasn't crying or nothing, but I'm normally really hyper, and they were just like, I was thinking about it. Like, man, they really didn't call me. Like, they pumped me up and they didn't call me. So I was like, no, I'm going to go to the hotel and just chill out. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I was knocked out. I'll never forget. And I get this phone call saying, hi, is this Britani Washington? I was like, yes? And this time I had forgot about it. And I was like, yeah, this is her. And she's like, you made the final cut. I was like, no. So he told me I made the final cut, and I would have to fly to New York. I was in Louisiana, and I lived in Houston at the time. I didn't pack no shoes and nothing. Ran for my life. No. He called me, and he told me that. He was like, you're going to have to go to New York for the finals. You didn't make it yet. You're going to have to go and try out in front of Beyonce. So I was just like, okay. And so after that, I went out into the hallway, and the first thing I did was knocked on everybody's door, because I knew the whole band was on my floor. I just didn't know what room. I was like, beat on everybody's door. I made it, just like that. No, the guy actually told me, when I come to New York, leave my ponytail at home. Yeah, he told me, that's how ratchet it was. Anyway, so he's like, leave the ponytail at home, but yeah, you're going to have to come to New York and try out for Beyonce. I emailed you the flight. It just happened like that. So we had a show the next day at this place we were playing at, and I just told my sister, hey, of course I'm not going to play at the show. I'm going to go to I'm going to New York. So that night, I packed up all my things. This was like 2:30, and I drove back to Houston, Texas, and packed up all my stuff for New York, and like I left immediately the same day. I was worn out. Like, I was moving so fast. The girl who told me about the audition actually made it too. We both drove to the airport, and on the way there, that's when I found out I get motion sickness. She had just bought a new BMW. And I threw up all in her car. I was like, girl, I know you don't even know me. I'm so sorry. But she wanted to ride together. I wanted to drive. It was her decision to ride together. I I get motion sickness, but I was living by myself all this time, and when you drive, you don't get motion. I'm going way off. Anyway, so we got there, we got to New York, and here, in Port Arthur or Houston, I didn't know any female musicians. I didn't know any female keyboard players. If they existed, not because they weren't good, I just didn't know them. So I was always surrounded by guys all the time, competitive, egotistical musicians.
Yes.
So I actually got there, and I was just so amazed. They had so many musicians there. I mean, really, really good musicians. And I started feeling the pressure. I really did. So that day, they just gave us a rundown on how the auditions were going to go the next morning. So I woke up in New York. Room was like 5 by 5 feet. So just imagine being in a small town, getting to New York, and actually having to do something. Like, this happened overnight. I didn't even know what was going on in my mind. I just knew that I had an itinerary. Just follow the itinerary, and don't tell your parents, because they're not ready. They wasn't ready for this. So when my parents finally did find out, they were just like, "You didn't tell us you made it? I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." So my dad, he's Mr. Drama. Everything is just up here. He's like, "I didn't know you made it. You're not gonna be the church musician no more." So anyway, long story short, went in there at 10 o'clock a.m., started playing. I was like one of the first ones to start playing. Who's sitting there in the front? Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kelly Rowland, Beyonce's mom, Beyonce's dad, herself, everybody is just in there. And I was cool. I was real cool. So I went in there and I started playing. I actually started giving the band like music to play because I was in a cover band, and everybody was just looking around trying to figure out what to play. So I took charge. Go hard or go home. Anyway, so long story short, like I said, I started playing 10 o'clock. The way they did it, they just switched everybody out. Everybody was on their instruments. Okay, let's see how you look with that person. Let's see how you look with that person. People were switched out. No lie. I stayed on that keyboard from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. I saw everybody go out and go in, and when I went for my lunch break, people were asking me, "So how was this girl? How was that girl?" I didn't say anything. But I did tell the percussionist that came with me, who told me about the audition. I was like, "Look, you step your game up a little bit, because that girl was getting all in like this." So I was like, "Look, you got to do something. Do the dance. I don't know. Make it happen." So she turned it up, and by 10 o'clock, I was like, "Man, I got this." And one of the guys was like, "Girl, you already know you got this, right? Because you've been in here all day." So I was just feeling myself a little bit too much. And here comes Rie. Rie, oh my goodness. Rie is the best keyboard player I've ever heard in my entire life. She went to Berkeley School of Music, Tokyo School of Music. I mean, you know how those Asians are. They own it at a young age. I thought I had it. She came inside and sat me down. I was just like, "So you're gonna do it like that?" So she killed it. And I was just like, "Man, I'm going home. I've been here all day. Now I'm going home." But she played really, really good. And BB came in last minute. We didn't have a guitar player. I was going to audition for the drums after Rie played. But BB came in. She did an amazing job. And then Matthew was just like, "Everyone go out." And so we all left the room, and then they called us back in. By that time, I was so tired. I had been there 12 hours, but I've been traveling like for 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we came back in. They told us to wait by the door, and it was like, when we call your name, go buy your instrument. And so I was like, okay, well, I did it. I gave it my best. At least I'm in New York, But I went inside, and I was the first name they called. And I was like, what? No lie. I was real cool about it. And then we got on our instruments, and that's when he announced, this is Beyonce's band. Give yourselves a hand. You heard some people cursing. Man, we was in New York. Like, you heard some people ready to fight, mad, crying, screaming. I was like, man, I'm just tired. That's all. So immediately, 6 days after that, we did the BET Awards. After that, we prepped for a tour, went on tour. It just happened, just like that. And so that's how 7 years passed. Seven years, I've done 3 tours, and I've been to, I don't know how many countries, how many cities, and I've not visited these cities. I've actually performed, so much to the point I got a letter in the mail yesterday saying, hey, you got a free trip to somewhere because you've been, you've spent so much time here and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I don't know what it was. It was in French. I had to translate the whole thing. But anyway, but yeah, that's how I made it. Like, I never, ever, like, showed pressure or sweat or anything else like that. I just knew that it was kind of a feeling that you knew you were supposed to be right where you are at that moment. So after that, we did the tour, and I'm going to try to hurry up. I have so much to say. We did the tour, and